Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
Praising the poets, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions 4 things. Just to summarize that: Iman, Amal Salih, good deeds, Dhikr of Allah, to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to defend themselves and their faith whenever they are oppressed. These qualities do not only apply to poets, it also applies to speakers like me. This is something which we have to learn. Let me share with you an example from the early days during the time when Amir al-Mu'minin Ali bin Abi Talib was in power. The Battle of Siffin. Arabs had this special talent of poetry. On both sides they would come up and introduce themselves and encourage their fellow people to fight against the other side. And one of those poets at that time was Najashi. Najashi, nothing to do with the king of Abyssinia. This is the Najashi who was a poet, an Arab, during the days of Amir al-Mu'minin. A very talented and powerful poet. And he recited many pieces of poetry against Muawiyah, against Banu Umayyah, in support of Ali and his shia. Ali and his followers returned back to Kufa after the unfinished business as far as Siffin is concerned. The month of Ramadan comes. Najashi had a friend, and this is very good to realize, keep good company. Sometimes you might be a good person, but you go towards Jahannam because of the bad company that you keep. And it was the month of Ramadan. He was passing by. A friend of him say, where are you going? He says, well, I'm going home. He says, well, why? Come. I have kebab, barbecue, probably it was summer, and sharab. So it's not only kebab, also, intoxicants. He said, no, it's not good, It's not. I said, come on. He pulled him, and this guy got trapped. So they have kebab and sharab. They spend the whole night that way. During the daytime, they come out. Both of them are drunk. It's Ramadan. Of course, when they were publicly seen to be drunk, the people caught them. The host ran away. Najashi was caught. The officers of Amir al-Mu'minin put him in prison until he sobers up. And then Ali said that, okay, you have been found publicly drunk, so the punishment would be implemented. 80 lashes. It was done. Then Ali said at the end, add 20 more. Najashi was okay with 80 lashes. He turns to Ali, why this 20 extra? He says, because you violated the sanctity of the month of Ramadan. In the month of Ramadan, during the daytime, you were found drunk. So those 20 lashes was for violating the sanctity of the month of Ramadan. Najashi couldn't take that. And eventually he ran away to Syria. Became a member of the court of Muawiyah. Started, reciting poetry in praise of Muawiyah now. Some of the companions of Ali told him that Ali, he had a good talent. Maybe you should be lenient, forgive him, let him, incite him to come back. Ali says, I don't want ashab like him. He is better with Muawiyah. And this is where we have to realize that, I might have a talent, you might have a talent, but we have to be careful how we are using it. ذَكَرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. Remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all the time is very important. When we even look at the poets, we have to be careful which kind of poets, the young people would like to follow. Some of them actually go to a level where they cross the boundaries of what is permissible and what is not. The traditional way of marsiya and noha, there's no problem there. But this is where sometimes, the modern ones go beyond, where the musical instruments and things like that are being brought in. Don't bring the example of what is happening in Iraq and Iran. You have to go and find out what the Sharia says. For us, an action of what is happening in Iraq or Iran by itself is not a hujjat for us. Okay, so that's one thing to keep in mind. Sometimes, and I gave you an example of Najashi, centuries back. I know 2 examples of organizations in North America, and these are the incidents of more than 25 years ago. So nobody would know whom I'm talking about or which city. One city in Canada, one city in southern part of US. Especially the one US was really shocking when I was told about it. When I visited that city, they said, Maulana, we had a poet we invited from overseas, and when the local reciters are then become second class for the local organizations. All of a sudden one day, the organizer is told that please ask your local reciter to fill in tonight. What happened? He said, well, the guest reciter who would come is not yet sober. This is the 10 days of Muharram, huh? And this is where you have to realize, I don't even question his integrity. I have a problem with the organizer. That how would they allow that person the next day to come and recite marsiya and noha, knowing this situation in the first 10 days of Muharram. And this is where we have to really focus on the values that the Qur'an and Ahlul Bayt have taught us, and what are the expectations that they have from us at different levels. Another example which was in Canada, only when a dispute happened within 2 groups, issues came up, financial issues came up, and while I was just going through the numbers and the books, there was an entry for Hussein Day program where the guest, expenses that they had for the guest, one of the items was wine. And it's officially been recorded there and paid from the money of the Shia organization. This is where, we really, as organizations, and we have to think about these issues. It's not the talent itself, it is actually the integrity of the person is also very important.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد